The unexpected introduction. Natalie Carter smoothed down her emerald green dress for the third time as she stood outside the upscale restaurant in downtown Manhattan. Her brother Ryan had insisted she attend his company's annual celebration dinner, and though she would rather be home sketching new clothing designs, she could never say no to her brother. He had raised her after their parents passed away in a car accident when she was 16, sacrificing his own dreams to ensure she could pursue hers. The restaurant's golden lights spilled onto the sidewalk as Natalie pushed through the heavy glass doors. The space was elegant, with crystal chandeliers casting warm glows over tables filled with men and women in expensive suits. She spotted Ryan near the bar, his familiar smile breaking through the sea of unfamiliar faces. He waved her over enthusiastically. Meeting the millionaire. Ryan pulled her into a quick hug before turning to the man standing beside him. Natalie's breath caught in her throat. The man was tall, easily over 6 feet, with dark hair that was graying slightly at the temples. His sharp jawline and piercing blue eyes gave him an air of authority, but there was something softer in his expression when he looked at her. He wore a perfectly tailored navy suit that probably cost more than her entire semester's tuition. "This is Victor Sterling," Ryan said proudly. "He is the CEO of Sterling Properties and my mentor. Victor, this is my little sister Natalie. She is studying fashion design at Parsons." Victor extended his hand, and when Natalie placed hers in his, she felt a jolt of electricity shoot up her arm. His grip was firm but gentle, and he held her hand a moment longer than necessary. "It is a pleasure to meet you, Natalie. Ryan talks about you constantly. He is very proud of your achievements." His voice was deep and smooth, like aged whiskey. Natalie found herself smiling genuinely for the first time that evening. "The pleasure is mine. Ryan has mentioned you often as well. Thank you for being such a good friend to him." The dinner conversation. Throughout dinner, Natalie found her eyes drifting toward Victor repeatedly. He sat across the table, engaged in conversation with other executives, but she noticed him glancing her way too. When their eyes met, neither looked away immediately. There was something magnetic about him, something that drew her in despite the obvious age gap and the fact that he was her brother's closest friend. Ryan was called away to give a speech, leaving Natalie and Victor alone at their section of the table. Victor leaned forward slightly, his attention fully on her. "So, fashion design. What draws you to that field?" Natalie appreciated that he asked a real question instead of making small talk. "I love the idea that clothing can tell a story. Every piece someone wears says something about who they are or who they want to be. I want to create designs that make people feel confident and beautiful." Victor nodded thoughtfully. "That is a wonderful perspective. Most people in my industry focus on buildings and structures, but you are right. Everything we create should tell a story and serve a purpose beyond function." They talked for nearly an hour, the conversation flowing naturally between them. Victor told her about his journey from a struggling architecture student to building one of the most successful real estate companies in New York. Natalie shared her struggles with finding her unique voice in the competitive fashion world. She found herself opening up to him in ways she rarely did with others. The conflict begins. As the evening progressed, Natalie noticed how Victor's eyes softened when he looked at her, how he leaned in when she spoke, how he laughed genuinely at her stories. She also noticed how he seemed to catch himself, pulling back whenever the moment felt too intimate. The internal battle playing out across his handsome features was obvious. When Ryan returned, Victor's demeanor shifted immediately. He became more formal, more distant, though his eyes still sought Natalie's across the table. She understood what was happening. He felt the connection too, but he was fighting it because of Ryan. The evening ends. As the dinner wound down, Ryan mentioned he needed to stay late for networking. "Victor, could you make sure Natalie gets home safely? Her apartment is on your way." Victor hesitated for just a moment before nodding. "Of course. It would be my pleasure." The car ride started in silence. Victor's driver navigated the busy Manhattan streets while Natalie sat in the luxurious back seat, acutely aware of Victor's presence beside her. The space between them felt charged with unspoken words. "I had a wonderful time tonight," Natalie said softly, breaking the silence. "Thank you for the conversation. It is rare to meet someone who actually listens." Victor turned to look at her, and in the dim light of the passing street lamps, she saw the conflict in his eyes. "Natalie, you are a remarkable young woman. But I need to be honest with you. I felt something tonight, something I should not be feeling. You are Ryan's sister, and he is like a brother to me. This cannot happen." Natalie's heart raced. "So you did feel it too?" "That is not the point." Victor ran a hand through his hair, a gesture that made him look younger, more vulnerable. "You are 22. I am 38. You should be with someone your own age, someone who can give you the carefree relationship you deserve." "What if I do not want carefree?" Natalie challenged. "What if I want someone who challenges me intellectually, who has lived enough life to understand what truly matters?" The car pulled up to her building. Victor looked at her with such intensity that she felt it in her bones. "Natalie, please do not make this harder than it already is. Good night." She stepped out of the car but turned back before closing the door. "This is not over, Victor. Some connections are too strong to ignore." As the car pulled away, Natalie stood on the sidewalk, her heart pounding. She had never felt this way about anyone before. Victor Sterling had awakened something in her, and she was not going to let it go without a fight. She did not care about the age difference or the complicated friendship with her brother. For the first time in her life, Natalie knew exactly what she wanted. The game had just begun, the morning after. Natalie woke up the next morning with Victor's face still fresh in her mind. She had dreamed about their conversation, the way his eyes crinkled when he smiled, the deep timbre of his voice. Rolling over, she grabbed her phone and stared at the blank screen, wondering if it would be too forward to message Ryan and ask for Victor's number. She decided against it. If Victor wanted to reach out, he would find a way. But as the days passed, there was only silence. Natalie threw herself into her design work, spending long hours at her studio in Parsons, sketching dress after dress. Yet every design somehow reflected her mood. The flowing lines, the deep blues and grays, the elegant sophistication. She was designing for a muse she had only just met. A week after the dinner, Jessica Park burst into Natalie's studio apartment carrying coffee and pastries. Her best friend took one look at Natalie's sketches and raised an eyebrow. "Who is he?" Natalie looked up, startled. "What are you talking about?" "These designs." Jessica gestured at the scattered papers. "They are gorgeous, but they are all screaming mature elegance and sophisticated romance. You have been designing streetwear and youth culture pieces for months. So who changed your perspective?" The confession to a friend. Natalie sighed and set down her pencil. She told Jessica everything about Victor Sterling, the instant connection, the car ride home, his rejection. Jessica listened without interrupting, her expression shifting from curiosity to concern. "Natalie, he is 16 years older than you and your brother's best friend. This is complicated on so many levels." "I know that." Natalie stood and walked to her window, looking out at the busy New York street below. "But Jessica, I have never felt this way before. Every guy I have dated felt shallow, boring. Victor sees me as an equal. He listened to my dreams like they mattered. He challenged my thinking. Age is just a number. Age is not just a number when it comes with completely different life experiences." Jessica came to stand beside her. "But I also know that look in your eyes. You are not going to let this go, are you?" Natalie shook her head. "I cannot. I need to at least try." The chance meeting. 2 days later, fate intervened. Natalie was leaving a fabric store in the garment district, her arms full of samples, when she literally walked into someone. The fabric scattered across the sidewalk, and strong hands caught her before she could fall. "I am so sorry, I was not watching where I was going." She looked up into familiar blue eyes. "Victor." He looked equally surprised, still holding her arms gently. "Natalie. Are you all right?" "Yes, I just need to." She glanced at the fabrics on the ground. They both bent down simultaneously to gather them, their hands brushing as they reached for the same piece of silk. The touch sent sparks through Natalie's entire body. Victor pulled his hand back as if burned. "Let me help you with these." "Where are you headed?" "Just back to my apartment. It is only a few blocks." Natalie straightened, clutching the fabrics to her chest like a shield. "What are you doing in this area?" "I thought real estate moguls spent their time in boardrooms and construction sites." A small smile played at Victor's lips. "I own several buildings in this district. I was checking on a renovation project." He hesitated, then added, "I will walk with you. These look heavy." They walked in silence for a block, the awkwardness palpable. Finally, Victor spoke. "How have you been? Ryan mentioned you have been working hard on your senior collection. So you asked about me?" The words were out before Natalie could stop them. Victor's jaw tightened. "Ryan is proud of you. He talks about you often." "That is not what I asked." Natalie stopped walking and turned to face him. "Did you ask about me, Victor?" The walls began to crack. He met her gaze, and she saw the same conflict from the dinner party still raging in his eyes. "Yes. I asked about you. I have thought about you every day since that night. I have picked up my phone to call you a dozen times. But Natalie, nothing has changed. This still cannot happen." "Why not? Give me one good reason that is not about my age or my brother." "Those are two very significant reasons." Victor ran a hand through his hair in that gesture she was beginning to recognize as frustration. "You deserve someone who can take you to college parties, who can grow with you, who does not have the baggage of failed relationships and business pressures. Stop telling me what I deserve." Natalie stepped closer. "I am not some naive girl, Victor. I have lived through losing my parents, watching my brother sacrifice everything for me, fighting my way through one of the most competitive design programs in the country. I know hardship. I know sacrifice. And I know what I feel when I am around you." "What do you feel?" His voice was barely a whisper. "Like I can breathe for the first time. Like someone finally sees me, not just Ryan's little sister or the promising design student, but me. Natalie. The real person underneath." Victor closed his eyes briefly, and when he opened them, they were filled with longing. "I see you. That is the problem. I see how brilliant you are, how talented, how full of life. And I see how I could dim that light by being selfish enough to pursue this. The first real date. You would not dim anything. You would make it brighter." Natalie reached out and touched his hand gently. "Have coffee with me. Right now. Just coffee. If after an hour you still think this is a terrible idea, I will walk away." Victor looked at their hands, at the way her smaller one fit perfectly in his. Then he made a decision. 1 hour. But not here. Somewhere Ryan would not accidentally see us. They found a small cafe tucked away in a quiet neighborhood. Over coffee that turned into lunch, they talked like they had at the dinner party, but deeper this time. Victor told her about his failed engagement 5 years ago to Claire Bennett, a woman his father had approved of but who never truly understood him. He spoke about the loneliness of success, how building an empire had cost him meaningful relationships. Natalie shared her fears about living up to her potential, about honoring her parents' memory by becoming someone they would be proud of. She talked about feeling different from her peers, more serious, more focused. Victor listened intently, asking thoughtful questions, making her feel heard in a way no one else ever had. The hours stretched into 3. By the time they left the cafe, the afternoon sun was casting long shadows across the street. Victor walked her home, and at her building's entrance, he finally acknowledged what had been building between them all day. The moment of truth. "I cannot stop thinking about you, Natalie." Victor cupped her face gently with one hand. "You have gotten under my skin in a way I did not think was possible anymore. But if we do this, if we cross this line, there is no going back. Ryan will eventually find out, and he may never forgive either of us." Natalie leaned into his touch. "Then we will face that together. I am not afraid of the consequences, Victor. I am only afraid of never knowing what this could be. You are so young to be so certain. I am old enough to know my own heart." She rose on her toes, bringing her face closer to his. "Tell me you do not feel this too. Tell me I am imagining this connection, and I will walk away right now." Victor's resolve finally shattered. He could not tell her that because it would be a lie. Instead, he closed the distance between them and kissed her. It was not a tentative first kiss but a passionate declaration of everything they had been holding back. Natalie's hands fisted in his shirt as she kissed him back with equal fervor, pouring weeks of longing into that single moment. When they finally broke apart, both were breathing hard. Victor rested his forehead against hers. "What have we started?" "Something beautiful." Natalie smiled. "Something worth fighting for." They stood there on the street, wrapped in each other's arms, knowing that this decision would change everything. The easy path would have been to walk away, to deny the connection. But neither of them had ever been good at taking the easy path. As Victor finally pulled away and hailed a cab, he turned back to look at her one more time. "Tomorrow. Dinner. A real date. We do this properly." Natalie nodded, her heart soaring. "Tomorrow." She watched his cab disappear into traffic, touching her lips where his kiss still lingered. The path ahead would be complicated, potentially painful, but for the first time in years, Natalie felt truly alive. Victor Sterling had awakened something in her soul, and she was ready to fight for this love, no matter the cost, the secret romance. Over the next 3 weeks, Natalie and Victor existed in a beautiful bubble of secrecy. They met at quiet restaurants far from Ryan's usual haunts, took long walks in Central Park during weekday afternoons when most people were working, and spent stolen evenings at Victor's penthouse when they knew Ryan was out of town on business trips. Every moment felt precious because they both knew it was borrowed time. Victor was unlike anyone Natalie had ever dated. He brought her flowers not because it was expected but because he had walked past a shop and thought of her. He remembered every detail she shared about her design projects and asked thoughtful questions that helped her work through creative blocks. When she was stressed about her senior collection deadline, he cleared his schedule to sit with her in her studio, working on his laptop while she sketched, his presence alone calming her nerves. For Victor, Natalie brought light into spaces that had been dark for years. She made him laugh with her observations about the fashion world, challenged his perspectives on art and beauty, and reminded him that success meant nothing without someone to share it with. He found himself leaving work early to spend time with her, something he had never done in his entire career. She had become his priority in a way that both thrilled and terrified him. The close call. One evening, they were having dinner at a small Italian restaurant in Brooklyn when Natalie's phone rang. Ryan's name flashed on the screen. Her heart jumped into her throat as she answered, trying to keep her voice steady. "Hey Ryan, what's up? Just checking in. I have not seen you much lately. Are you okay?" Ryan's voice carried genuine concern. "You are not avoiding me because I have been working too much, are you?" "No, of course not. I have just been buried in my collection work. You know how it is near the end of the semester." Natalie avoided looking at Victor, knowing she would lose her composure if she met his eyes. "Well, I am back in town now. Let's have dinner this weekend." And I will invite Victor too. He has been asking about your progress. I think he is genuinely interested in your work. Natalie's stomach dropped. That sounds great. I will check my schedule and text you. When she hung up, Victor reached across the table and took her hand. We cannot keep doing this. The guilt in his voice was unmistakable. Every time you have to lie to your brother, I see it eating away at you. This is exactly what I feared would happen. So what are you saying? Natalie pulled her hand back, fear gripping her chest. Are you ending this? No. Victor shook his head firmly. I am saying we need to tell him. Soon. This weekend, before the dinner he is planning. I cannot keep betraying my best friend's trust, and you should not have to keep secrets from the person who raised you. The decision. That night, lying in Victor's arms in his penthouse, Natalie traced patterns on his chest as they talked about how to approach Ryan. The city lights sparkled through the floor-to-ceiling windows, making the moment feel suspended in time. What if he never forgives us? Natalie voiced the fear that had been haunting her since their first kiss. What if I have to choose between you and my brother? Victor tightened his arms around her. Then you choose your brother. Ryan was there for you when your world fell apart. That bond is sacred. If he cannot accept us, I will step aside. Your relationship with him is more important than what we have. Natalie sat up, looking down at him with tears in her eyes. How can you say that? What we have is not some casual fling, Victor. I love you. I have loved you since that first night, maybe even from the moment we shook hands. Victor pulled her back down, kissing her forehead tenderly. I love you too. More than I thought I could love anyone. But real love means being willing to sacrifice for the other person's happiness. If losing me means you keep your brother, then that is a sacrifice I am willing to make. They held each other through the night, both knowing that everything was about to change. The bubble they had been living in was about to burst, and there was no way to predict how the pieces would fall. The confession. Saturday morning arrived too quickly. Natalie met Victor outside Ryan's apartment building, her hands shaking as she pressed the intercom button. Victor took her hand, squeezing it reassuringly. Together, he mouthed silently. Ryan opened the door with his usual warm smile, but it faltered when he saw them holding hands. His eyes moved from their joined hands to their serious expressions, and Natalie watched understanding dawn across his face. We need to talk, Victor said, his voice steady despite the tension radiating through his body. Ryan stepped aside wordlessly, letting them enter. The apartment that had always felt like home suddenly felt like foreign territory. They sat in the living room, Natalie and Victor on the couch, Ryan in the armchair across from them. The silence stretched uncomfortably. How long? Ryan's voice was quiet, controlled, but Natalie could hear the hurt underneath. 3 weeks officially, Natalie answered. But we have had feelings for each other since your company dinner a month ago. Ryan stood abruptly, pacing to the window. You are my best friend, Victor. I trusted you. She is my little sister. She is 22 years old. I know. Victor remained seated, his posture open and honest. There is no excuse for not telling you sooner. I fought these feelings for weeks, Ryan. I tried to stay away. But Natalie is not just your little sister. She is an incredible woman who challenged everything I thought I knew about myself. The breaking point. Ryan spun around, his face flushed with anger. She is half your age. What could you possibly have in common? This is not some romance novel, Victor. This is real life. What happens when she realizes she has missed out on being young because she tied herself to someone already set in his ways? I am standing right here, Ryan. Natalie stood, her voice strong despite the tears streaming down her face. Stop talking about me like I am not in the room. Stop treating me like a child who does not know her own mind. I am an adult, and I love Victor. I love him in a way I have never loved anyone. You think you love him? Ryan's voice softened slightly at the sight of her tears. Natalie, you have not experienced enough of life to know what real love is. You have been so focused on school and your designs that you have barely dated. Victor is sophisticated and successful. Of course you are drawn to him. But that does not make this right. Victor stood, positioning himself slightly in front of Natalie. Ryan, I understand your anger. If I had a sister and my best friend started a relationship with her behind my back, I would want to punch him. So if that is what you need, I am right here. But do not diminish what Natalie feels. She has more emotional maturity than most people twice her age. I did not pursue her lightly. I fought this with everything I had because I knew it would hurt you. The ultimatum. So what now? Ryan looked between them, his expression a mixture of betrayal and pain. You want my blessing? You want me to be happy that my best friend is dating my sister? We want honesty. Natalie moved to stand beside Victor, taking his hand again. We want to stop hiding. I hate lying to you, Ryan. You are the most important person in my life. You sacrificed everything for me after Mom and Dad died. But I cannot sacrifice my happiness just because the man I love happens to be your friend. This is going to end badly. Ryan shook his head. One of you is going to get hurt, and then where will we all be? Our friendship will be destroyed, your relationship with your sister will be strained, and Natalie will have given up years of her youth for a relationship that was doomed from the start. Or it could be the best thing that ever happened to all of us. Victor's voice was calm but firm. I love your sister, Ryan. I love her enough to walk away if that is what you truly want. But I am asking you, as someone who has been my brother in every way that matters, to give us a chance. Give Natalie the respect of trusting her judgment. The resolution. The silence that followed felt eternal. Ryan walked back to the window, staring out at the city below. Natalie could see his shoulders tense, could imagine the battle raging inside him. Finally, he turned back to face them. I need time. I cannot just flip a switch and be okay with this. You both lied to me for weeks. That trust needs to be rebuilt. We understand. Natalie took a tentative step toward her brother. Take all the time you need. But please, Ryan, do not shut me out completely. You are all I have left of our family. Ryan's expression softened slightly at her words. You are not going to lose me, Natalie. I am angry and hurt, but you are my sister. That does not change. He turned to Victor. You and I need to have a separate conversation. Man to man, without Natalie present. Victor nodded. Whenever you are ready. Natalie moved to hug her brother, and after a moment's hesitation, Ryan hugged her back. I just want you to be happy, he murmured into her hair. I just hope you know what you are getting into. I do. And if it does not work out, I will survive. But Ryan, what if it does work out? What if this is the real thing? Would you want me to have missed it because I was too afraid to try? Ryan pulled back, looking at her with sad eyes. When did you grow up so much? You made sure I did. You gave me the tools to stand on my own, to make my own decisions. Trust that you did a good job. Over the following weeks, healing began slowly. Ryan and Victor had their conversation, one that Natalie was not privy to but that seemed to ease some of the tension. Ryan started accepting invitations to have coffee with Natalie, though dinners with Victor present were still off the table. 1 month after their confession, Ryan showed up at Natalie's apartment unannounced. She opened the door nervously, unsure what to expect. I have been watching you both, Ryan said without preamble. I have seen how Victor looks at you, how he prioritizes you even when it costs him business deals. I have seen how happy you are, how confident. He paused, then continued. I have also talked to Victor extensively. He has convinced me that his intentions are genuine, that this is not some midlife crisis or passing fancy. Ryan, Natalie started, but he held up a hand. I am not saying I am completely comfortable with this. The age difference still bothers me, and the fact that he is my best friend makes family dinners weird. But I can see that you love each other. Real love. The kind mom and dad had. And who am I to stand in the way of that? Natalie threw her arms around her brother, tears of relief streaming down her face. Thank you. Thank you for trusting me. Just promise me one thing. Ryan pulled back, his expression serious. Promise me that if he ever hurts you, you will tell me. And Victor has already been warned that if he breaks your heart, our friendship is over. The new beginning. That evening, Natalie, Victor, and Ryan had dinner together for the first time as an acknowledged couple. It was awkward at first, but as the night progressed, the old easy friendship between Victor and Ryan began to resurface, now with the added dimension of Natalie's presence. As they left the restaurant, Ryan pulled Victor aside briefly. Take care of her. She is stronger than she looks, but she is still the most precious thing in my life. I know. And I promise you, I will spend every day proving that your trust is not misplaced. 6 months later, Natalie's senior collection debuted at Parsons Fashion Show. The collection, titled Timeless, explored the beauty of love that transcends age and circumstance. In the front row sat Victor and Ryan, side by side, both beaming with pride as Natalie took her bow to thunderous applause. After the show, as Natalie celebrated with her classmates, she looked across the room at Victor. He was talking with Ryan, both men laughing at something. Her heart swelled with love and gratitude. The path had not been easy. There had been painful conversations, hurt feelings, and moments of doubt. But they had chosen truth over convenience, love over fear. Victor caught her eye and smiled, that special smile reserved just for her. Natalie smiled back, knowing that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. She had found her soulmate in the most unexpected place, and with her brother's blessing, she was ready to build a future with the man who had changed her life. Their love story had not been conventional, but the best love stories never are. It had required courage, honesty, and the willingness to fight for what mattered most. As Natalie walked toward Victor, who opened his arms to embrace her, she knew that every difficult moment had been worth it. This was her happily ever after, earned through truth and built on a foundation of genuine love. The end.